This is our Cub Cadet lawnmower. It's been a good machine, but it did develop a problem where it became more difficult to start over time. And in particular, when it was cold outside, it was really hard to start. I suffered with this problem for far too long, and when I finally dug into it to see what was going on, it turned out to be super simple. This mower uses a Kohler 7000 series engine, which is used in a lot of equipment. And so if you have a piece of equipment with a Kohler 7000 series engine that's difficult to start, well, this tip may be for you. Now, the mower ran perfectly fine once it started, but it didn't want to start very easily, especially when cold. So those small engine mechanic geniuses out there, you probably already know what's going on with this. This engine runs a pretty lean fuel mixture, and so it requires some choke in order to start up easily. And if the choke isn't engaging, it's going to be difficult to start, and that was exactly the problem that I was having. Now, on this engine, the choke is integrated with the throttle, and so the throttle is over here on the operator's controls, and when you push the throttle upward, you'll find near the top there's a small detent, which is maximum throttle. And then you can go just slightly beyond that detent and push the throttle a little bit higher yet, and in that range it engages the choke, and that's the start position for the engine. And so I decided I have to dig into this and figure out what's going on, and I figured it was a carburation problem, so decided I'm going to pull the hood off, take a look at what's going on with the carburetor, see if we can figure it out. It turned out to be a super simple fix. To remove the hood on the Cub, all you need to do is tilt it toward you while lifting up, and at a certain degree of tilt, there is a slot in the hinge that will allow you to lift the hood up and off of the machine. Now, the hood has some headlamps in it, so there's a wire going from the hood down into the machine, and the wire has a connector on it down here which you could disconnect if you want to be able to remove the hood and take it away. On our mower, there's enough slack in that wire that I can just remove the hood and set it alongside the machine without having to disconnect that connector. So all we need to do is just tilt the hood open like you normally do, but as you tilt it open, lift it upward and off of the hinge. And there's a certain position where it will just come right off. And we can just gently set this thing alongside the machine. So we have the throttle control on the operator's console right up here, and the carburetor is on the front of the engine right there where the throttle control comes in. So I'll bring you around. So here you can see the front of the engine on the machine, and on the very front lower part of it you'll see the carburetor with the cable coming in from the operator's control panel for the throttle. Let's zoom in a little closer so we can get a little better look at this operation. So as you can see, we have the throttle cable that comes in right here, which pulls on the throttle butterfly on this lever right here. And as we operate the control, you can see that that opens up the throttle on the engine. Now there's another bar right here which actuates the choke, and the mechanism is set so that when the throttle is opened fully and then a little bit beyond full, it engages this other bar which then pulls in the choke butterfly, which you'll see as I bring the throttle from idle all the way up through full throttle, and then as I go all the way to the start position at the very top of the control, it pulls down this second bar which actuates the choke. Now the problem that we were experiencing was that over time we had a little bit of stretch in the throttle cable, or things just got slightly out of adjustment, and you could pull the throttle all the way up to the start position on the operator's console, and it didn't pull this cable hard enough and far enough to actuate the choke mechanism. And so all you need to do to resolve that is there's a retaining clip on the throttle cable right here, which you loosen up with a screwdriver, and then while having the operator throttle control pushed all the way up to the start position, to its maximum position, we grab the throttle cable and pull it away from the engine to increase the deflection of these controls until you see the choke engage. So we just pull the throttle cable this way away from the carburetor until we see that the choke has become engaged. Then you just tighten that set screw down to lock it in place, and then it will start nicely. So let's reattach the hood and see if it starts. Putting the hood on is the opposite of removing it, of course, which is to just lift it into place. And align the bottom with the hinge and set it on there, and then it just closes like so. And so after readjusting that cable, you should be able to put the throttle all the way up to the start position. Start. So if you have a Kohler 7000 series engine that's tough to start, this is one of the things that you can check. Just make sure that that throttle cable, when you actuate the throttle control all the way up to the start position, is engaging the choke. Hope you found the video helpful, and if you did, I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you again soon.